Okay.
Just FYI, Al told me.
We should write that down somewhere.
Yeah. Let me just pin it to the.
All Sky meeting notes.
I was gonna pin it to Samna, but
Oh, it's Amna also works. Yeah, we have like 12 pins now. Yeah, there we go. Scale.
yeah.
Yeah, either place works.
Cool.
But yeah, so that's some of the things that we've been doing. So so based on some of the presentations that we've seen, I'd like us just to talk about some of the things that you guys found really interesting. If any ideas popped into your head as we were going through. One of the things that I found interesting that doesn't really kind of go with the all sky idea, but when Professor Derlica Wagner, right?
Mhm.
When he suggested like one of the things you can do with a smaller telescope like this is pick very dense star fields and look for any type of like transiting black holes where you see any kind of dips that aren't variable stars where they're periodic. You can actually find things like that in those dense star fields. I don't know why, but I could not get that out of my head. And that thought keeps coming back to me, just like how cool is that type of thing with a telescope that we have access to. So yeah, and then like, things like kind of looking at the structure of our galaxy through something like a telescope like this, because I don't know what the light pollution is like in Nigeria, but even here in Williams Bay, we're fairly far away from any major cities, and the Milky Way is kind of tricky you can kind of pick out where the thicker parts are on a really good night, but it's not like it's jumping out at you where you can really see how it's structured and looks throughout the sky. So being able to do a survey where like we could cover the entirety of the Milky Way from SEO, or at least, most of what rises above the certain threshold that we're looking at, I think would be something that also really interests me.
Yeah, I think one of the cool things about, so like most surveys don't look at the Milky Way precisely because it is so dense with stars, but it would be cool to actually be able to cover that part of the sky and like say something about stellar densities and like how it changes when you move outside of the Milky Way.
Definitely.
And also, oh,
No,
sorry.
go ahead. I had nothing.
Oh, just really quickly that I know that Al's class, there were some students that were looking for variable stars. So there's already some existing code for kind of tracking variability, which could kind of play into the transiting black hole thing. And so there's already tools in place that allow us to do that. So it would be cool to like try it out. It's not going to be a stretch to try it out, at least. I don't know if we'll see any black holes, but it would be cool to try it.
All right. As anybody else want to mention something that you picked out from one of the presentations? Because I could kind of go on and on, but I kind of want to hear if you guys had any big takeaways.
I wasn't paying rapt attention. I was on transit on the day of the meeting, so I was only trying to go to the videos this afternoon. But I haven't gone to the end because I'm trying to take some shots and all, and multitasking at the same time. So, but I think I was listening, and it had to do with the part. I think there was a part he was talking about the things you need to watch out for, when you want to begin a survey, all those. They came in all handy, but I'm yet to draw a conclusion from all those. But I guess there are people here that stayed on throughout and were able to get much of the information and details. Maybe they could start up, and when we listen to them, we'll be able to merge what they've said with what I think I heard.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, no, that's totally fine. I'm hoping that this new meeting time, since it's a little bit later for you guys, is better so that nobody's, driving home from work. So this works out a little nicer for everybody. I think because we have both presentations recorded, I think what might be a good idea is to just have everybody go back and rewatch the presentations and give 2 takeaways from each. So basically, I'd just like to see everybody post in the All Sky 4 different things that they kind of took away from the 2 presentations. And I'll put mine in there as well. I might go and review the first one probably sometime this week just to refresh my memory, and rewatch that section about some of the things that he suggested as interesting targets and ideas, just to kind of see if there's anything there. But I think if we can do that, where we can kind of get an idea of what stood out to everybody, we can really start to narrow down what we want our survey to focus on. Because if one of my biggest takeaways from the presentation on Thursday was having your scientific goals first is probably the most important thing when it comes to starting your survey, because it affects what filters you're going to use, how much space you're going to cover, or how deep you want to go. So I think we really need to put a lot of work in the next couple weeks to figuring out what is our focus and moving towards that so we can start the planning process of figuring out which filters and kind of the depth and the range of our survey. So yeah, so if anybody else, also had the same problem with the Mecca, because I know a couple of people weren't able to make the second presentation on time. So if we want, we can give a little bit more time before we talk about takeaways. But if there's any others like outside of the presentations, if there are things that kind of came up to you, whether reading through things about other survey planning or just areas of interest, I think I'd really like to be able to narrow down some of the more specific things people find interesting, like our globular clusters or galaxies or our Milky Way. Are those things that kind of get you excited, kind of things that you would be like, yeah, I'll spend hours playing with a Python notebook to kind of go through images like that?
Adam, you said 2 takeaways?
2 takeaways per presentation.
Okay. Got it.
But yeah, so as we go forward, we want to be able to just narrow down what our collective interest is. Because when you're doing a presentation like this, when you're doing kind of a project like this, if you're not interested in what we're researching, it's going to be really hard to keep up. So we want to make sure everybody's kind of on board and excited about it. And one of the cool things is if we pick something more broad that allows us to pick up other things as well, that's great too. One of the things I noticed when I was kind of skimming through the dark energy survey planning is they didn't just have one scientific goal. There was kind of like the primary goal, and then there was like 8 other things listed underneath it. Objectives and requirements. So yeah, they had quite a few things, 11 different things listed under the objectives and requirements. So depending on what we pick to focus on, opens us up to other cool things that we can do along the way. So any ideas come up at the moment, or do we all need to just kind of take one more week, go through those presentations again, and come up with our takeaways, and then we can really have a more in-depth conversation?
I think it's okay. Stellar density you talked about is cool.
Say that again, Chris.
Sorry, I said I think the stellar density you talked about is also cool.
Right? I think that's kind of fun.
Yeah, it is because it's also a very cool aspect of research now. Yeah, trying to know the stellar density in the Milky Way is a good one.
I think one of the other cool things that opens up is there's a lot that goes into it. So it kind of gives us a decent amount of offshoots for side projects.
He talked about the disadvantage of having a survey within our Milky Way when he talked about clouding, and I think I saw that too. I don't know. So let's see how that plays effect.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to think about kind of the weather aspect of our survey and what parts of the sky will not really be feasible given like weather patterns in Sonoma. Because obviously we're not on a mountain in Chile, so we don't have 300 or whatever nights of clear skies that it is. So we will have to kind of look at that in our survey planning. So I think that'll be interesting. But did anybody get a chance to go through the dark energy survey paper that Dr. Nielsen pointed us towards? I was only able to skim through the first couple sections. Didn't get a chance to take too long of a look at it.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Though I joined late during that last meeting, but I think I asked the presenter if this dark energy survey is associated with dark matter. I'm surprised to see in the abstract they aim to constrain some cosmological parameters using different independent methods. So if they can, there is some parameters that, like the curvature parameter that defines some how the universe expand. So if they can be able to do that, then it has to be associated with dark matter. Though I don't really have the deep knowledge of all they put in the write-up, but
So dark matter and dark energy are not related in the sense that like dark matter is just something that we call the existing matter in the universe that doesn't interact with normal baryonic matter that like makes up you and me, for example. Dark matter was postulated as a way to, for example, explain why some galaxies rotate really fast or faster than we expected, such that if they had only the mass in stars and baryonic matter that we calculate they do, they would fall apart at the speeds that they rotate, which means that there should be more matter or more mass in the galaxy such that doesn't happen. So if you look at the rotation curve, dark energy has nothing to do with extra matter in the universe, so to say. Dark energy is just something that tells us that the rate at which our universe is expanding is increasing, basically. So the expansion of the universe is accelerating. And so the dark energy survey, right? The survey itself gives us a whole bunch of different like science results, and we can use those to either investigate dark energy or dark matter or probe basically the cosmology of the universe, because cosmology itself inherently involves studying both dark matter and dark energy. But the two concepts themselves are not like, I want to say not related. I mean, they really aren't related. It's not like dark matter is dark energy or anything like that.
Yeah,
but they're both like part of our cosmology that you can investigate using different observational data. Go ahead,
You can-
Amanda.
My question, my confusion is that, is it that dark matter and dark energy is not related?
They're not.
They are not?
No.
And there is no way both can be correlated.
They're not at all the same thing. Like, so the only, if you think about what our universe is made up of, you can consider like the energy density of the universe. So different parts of energy make up our universe, right? So around 30% of the energy from our universe is in the form of dark matter, and around 70% of the energy in our universe is in the form of dark energy. So they both make up the total energy density of our universe, but they have nothing to do with each other.
Okay, but that I believe there is a energy density of the universe, and elementarily there is what we have known as the fate of the universe, which depends on some certain parameters, like our energy density is one, and curvature parameter is one. Though I might not be getting it straight, but my confusion is that dark energy and dark matter are not related. Though I'm yet, let me investigate more. Let me not go for that.
They sound related because they both have the word dark in them. But the dark is just saying like we don't know anything about it. That's why it's called dark matter and dark energy. I could call them whatever the heck else I wanted and they would still be the same. But the dark is only there to confuse you and to tell us that we don't really know what it is. So we're just going to say that it's dark because we don't know what it is. And for the example of dark matter, it doesn't interact with anything in our like baryonic matter. It doesn't interact with matter that we see and feel and touch every day.
Sorry, the baryonic matter, is it the same matter we are made up of? And if
Yes.
it is, do you then mean it has about 10%, because it said that energy, the total energy of the universe, if the total energy is 100%, dark energy 70, then dark matter 20, dark matter energy, I mean, or dark matter 20. So what is the remaining 10?
Yeah, the baryonic content is probably like 5-ish%. I don't know if the universe 4. Yeah, like from what I learned in my cosmology class right now, like 60% of the universe, not 60, sorry, 68-ish, 69-ish is dark energy. Like 31% is matter in general, which includes like 20-ish, 25-ish% dark matter, and then the remaining is just normal baryonic matter.
Okay. Thank you. Thank
I
you.
can show you a pie chart.
Yes.
We really won't be able to measure any kind of cosmology with SEO probably unless we look at supernovae.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, this is like, wait, where is it? Oh, here.
Yeah. And then there's also like a little bit that's composed of radiation, but that is like such a low value that we can just ignore it for our own purposes. So the composition of the universe has changed over time. This is just the composition of it right now, but you can actually make plots and see how this composition has changed over time, where the universe goes from being dominated by radiation, exactly that plot, the red line, to at some point being dominated by matter, to now, only now, being dominated by dark energy. And so depending on what time, quote unquote, you look in the universe's past, things will look a lot different, and you need to apply different equations and laws to get various quantities. But that's all outside the scope of what we're doing right now, because all of this is like complicated cosmology stuff that I'm learning right now and is not easy to understand. I say from experience. Hey, I made a plot like that. I made that exact plot in my class for my first homework.
Where'd it go? Okay, whatever. I'm just gonna show you this.
I can show you my plot if you want, but it looks like that.
Yeah. So dark energy.
Hey, good evening, guys.
Hello, Ulrich.
Hi, Ulrich.
Yeah, I've been hearing about the dark energy and the dark matter stuff, and I had a whole new view, or if you're gonna call it that way, like a different view about the universe and how things function, like the galaxies and the kind of forces that are really in place and really act upon them, the planets and whatever. Like, okay, from the theory, if you mind me to call it that way, the theory which I have in mind, we normally are supposed to have a wide, or let's say a big, a very massive black hole at the center of the universe, or let's say like a relatively center of the universe.
No, not the center of the universe. There is no center of the universe. I think you mean the center of every galaxy.
Something I read. Yeah, it's just like a theory. Wait, let me finish explaining. Okay, at the center of the universe and at the center of every galaxy, we equally have another black hole, right? Like at the center of every galaxy, we have a black hole where this huge gravitational force compels the objects around that that strong gravitational force to rotate around it. And so from what I am saying is the planets, the galaxies actually started from a point where let's call it in this case the Big Bang, where there was a huge explosion or that kind of thing, and now like a tornado, right? Like a torpedo, you're gonna call it a torpedo or tornado, I don't really know. So due to that rotating force, like that rotational force, it compels now the objects to try to move outwards. Like, what are you gonna call this? Is it centripetal force? No. Okay, let's just continue. Like, there is a force that tends to pull the objects out when it's rotating at that velocity around the black hole, or the massive object, or the object that has a strong, really strong gravitational force. And so from this theory, I think the definition of dark energy, due to the expansion of the universe, of course, is gonna be this force that tries to push these objects out of the universe, like out into empty space. And so, due to fluid mechanics, if you understand the mechanism of fluid mechanics, you're gonna see that when there is a strong tornado around somewhere, that tornado is gonna compel like other objects to turn around and cause little like smaller tornadoes around it. Like the more it expands outwards, there are other tornadoes. And so due to this, I think these smaller tornadoes are like the smaller galaxies. And that I said there should be a massive black hole at the center of the universe, and where other galaxies revolves around this massive black hole, and as the other galaxies revolve around the universe, around that massive black hole, the center of the universe, there are other objects. Oh no, like this big tornado causes, or let's say the big black hole, due to its rotational force, causes the other ones to revolve around it, and while they're trying to revolve, it causes the other rotational force around the smaller galaxies. And so due to the rotational force of the galaxies, it tries to compel the smaller objects, or like the objects of smaller gravitational state. Like if you try to picture a little what I'm trying to say, you're gonna see that one object of bigger mass, due to its rotational force, compels another object of a smaller mass to equally rotate and revolve around itself and around the bigger object. And due to this, I was gonna verify this experiment. Sorry, verify this theory with a simple experiment where we are gonna make something like is it a hot air balloon or something, where, because at this point here on Earth we really cannot verify the theory because we are attached to the Earth, and since gravitational force is a very, very weak force, we're not gonna be able to really observe or really see with our naked eyes how this force really reacts. So we're gonna like suspend an object of really, really small mass in the air, might be with a lighter than air gas or a propeller or whatsoever. I don't really know. And no, the ideas are really still raw. They just came to my mind recent. And so we're gonna suspend it in the air, in mid-air. And now, if you from the theory that is suspended in air is going to be compelled to try to rotate in one direction without any force, like any other force trying to do it, like trying to compel it to do so, due to that rotational force caused by the Earth, or like the rotational force that the Earth has upon that object, and the rotational force that the galaxies have upon the planetary system, that has upon the sun, that has upon the Earth, and upon that little mass, you're going to call it anyway, that has been suspended in mid-air. So yeah, that's just a rough idea of the theory I really had in mind. So due to this, I think there should be a really massive black hole at the center of the universe, or relatively, as I repeat, at the center of the universe, that compels other objects or galaxies to rotate around themselves and revolve around that massive black hole. Or might be just an object that has a very, very, very strong gravitational force.
Hello.
Yeah, Ambrose, go ahead.
Yeah.
I think that's it.
Are you done?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know, but a little knowledge I have. I doubt if a universe have a center. And we were told, I'm not saying that it's not possible.
Yeah,
But for
that's
now, what we know is that a very dense fireball exploded based on the Big Bang theory.
yeah.
And every other thing emerged, chemicals based on nucleosynthesis. And presently, we have there is what is called fate of the universe, governed by the curvature parameter, matter density, and that of critical density and energy. The universe can be open,
Yes.
which means it can expand forever, and it can be closed, that is Big Crunch, and it can be flat when the energy is zero. So I agree with you, there is supermassive black holes, of course. We have two types of black holes, stellar mass black hole and supermassive black holes, which and this classification is based on their mass. So right now, I am not
Yes.
trying to dispute what you said because everything is possible. And point I'm trying to make is that, of course, the universe is expanding, and we have three evidence that shows support that, and one of them is Hubble's law, which says that velocity, recessional velocity of the galaxy is proportional to the distance. And remember,
Yes.
the constant of proportionality is the Hubble's constant, and it depends on the epochs. And that
Mm-hmm.
would also help someone to estimate the age of the universe, because age of the universe is a reciprocal of Hubble's constants, depending on the epoch. If the epoch at 65 kilomega per second, kilomega per second will not be the same in the age of the universe at that of 80 kilomega per second.
Mm-hmm.
Kilometer mega per second, sorry.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to chip in is that I don't, I've not seen, or I don't believe universe has a center. Of course, remember one
Mm-hmm.
characteristics of the universe is homogeneous.
Yes.
It
Yes.
looks the same in every ramification. And what someone can do is to just make a reference point and assume to be to such point to be a center. Then you make reference
Yes.
to that.
Actually, assume. Mm-hmm.
So
Because yes, since the universe is infinite, we really cannot determine whether the center
yes,
is reference
and
to.
the age of the universe is infinite.
Yes. Yes.
So we are just dealing with the statistics of what we have before us, and I'm not saying it will remain the same all the time, but presently we have not seen physical laws or equations that counters what we have.
Yes. Yes.
Me, the universe don't have a center in my own
Mm-hmm.
personal little knowledge. But
Mm-hmm.
there is a supermassive black hole that's often found in the center of galaxy, and I think active galactic nuclei is one of them, and Cepheid galaxies and other.
Yes.
So with Hubble's law, which have been proven that the universe is expanding, and also detection of microwave background radiation and nucleosynthesis, these are the three evidence that tell us that universe is really expanding.
Mm-hmm.
But that of center is what I'm not sure of. So this is
Yes.
my
Yes.
submission.
That's
Okay.
it.
Let me say in the sense of let me say the center of the universe in the sense of our known universe, the center of our known universe actually, like the constraints of the universe that we have.
Sorry to interrupt you. You know,
Mm-hmm.
in cosmology, there are what is called observable universe and the physical universe.
Exactly.
So observable ones is the one that the present state of art technology can explore. And there is yet some other parts of the universe that have not been explored. So no one can come out and say that this is the center or this is the corner of the universe. I don't think. Based on the state of art technology.
Okay, so I think we are like way off topic. should we try to kind of have this conversation after the meeting and then kind of go through our tasks and focuses for the next couple of weeks first?
Definitely. Yes.
Okay.
I was about to ask him because I think we agreed that you talk on what um, Eric
Yeah.
talked about last class, and I don't know, maybe if there is a change in plan of that, but I've not seen that happening.
Change in plan of what?
Yes.
I missed that
I
last
mean,
part. Sorry, Chris.
last week we said we'll be going over maybe a recap or maybe stress and pointing out some cool aspects of Eric Nelson's presentation. So though I was thinking maybe if we come, then maybe though some intonations in different countries they're not the same. I hardly strained my ear to hear Eric. So I was actually be like considering, well, maybe it would be nice then because I can hear both of you clearly, like very clear. So I was thinking maybe we are going through it again. Then I was somehow happy that I won't strain my ear to hear you guys.
Oh, of course. So the video that I put on YouTube, it's on the recording of the whole thing. The audio should be good. Let me know if it's not. So it'll probably be better than listening through Zoom. So you'll probably have an easier time with it. So if you guys go check Slack, let me know if you want me to put the link into WhatsApp as well. I can do that too. But otherwise on Slack and the All Sky channel, I have the link to the YouTube video. That's the recording from our meeting. So you can rewatch all of his presentation, and hopefully you won't have to strain. It should be all very clear after that. So you can rewatch it there. And then just to reiterate for everybody, after you watch it, we want to make sure everybody has kind of 4 takeaways from the 2 presentations, things that you think that just kind of either stuck in your mind, things that stick out to you as, oh, we really do need to keep this in mind, or, oh, this gives me an idea. Anything like that from when you rewatch those 2 presentations, that's what we kind of want to have in the Slack channel. Would you guys prefer, so we have those old meeting slides that we used last year. Some of you might not be familiar with them, but it was a Google Slides presentation, and everybody could just make their own slide and put points in there. Would you guys prefer that or just doing posts in the All Sky channel?
Can you hear me?
I think both.
Kind of. Oh, sorry.
For me,
Yeah.
for me, I think for the sake of experience, everyone learning how to do that, it's proper to use the Google slide
Google
so that
Slide.
people can, yeah, so people can get used to that.
Okay.
Then also people can also put it on Slack channel to also get used to that. Like we should be able to be, moving from one interface to the other, so can get used to all of them. So those I can put on both, fine. Those I can, but I think it will be proper for us to focus more on the Google slide. Like I said the other day, I wish we could have a session where we all of us we get those of us that don't know how to prepare Google Forms, Google Documents, all those, and then how will, those Google documents we put up and all of us come and edit at our own times and all. Yeah, just like the Google Slides. If we can learn how to do that, it's going to be an add-on for some of us that may want to use that further from now.
Perfect.
So that's my take. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
that.
that's nice to know. Like,
Yeah, go ahead, Ulrich.
I was talking to Mika.
We're losing you, Ulrich. We can't really hear you. Does somebody want to just message Ulrich that we can't hear him?
I said I was talking to Mika.
Dang, the audio just keeps cutting out.
Okay, he said he was talking to me. Okay, Ulrich, can you type in the chat box? I can barely hear you. It's breaking.
All right. So yeah, so Ulrich, if you want to just type what you were going to say in there, since we're having trouble with the audio from you. But yeah, so I think if you want to go over Google Slides and the forums and Slack, and also going over the Google Classroom again, because it's still there and it's something that we can all use and have access to, we can do that today with the last half hour that we have, unless there's something else that we should cover today. Because otherwise, I think for today, just knowing that we got to all rewatch those presentations and come away with takeaways and think of some ideas for our survey going forward. There's not much else I can think of as useful today as just kind of reiterating the tools that we want to use going forward, where to find them, and things that we want everybody to be familiar with at kind of the most basic level. So when Ulrich puts his comments or questions in the chat, we can talk about that. But otherwise, I can share my screen if we want to go over some of the different things like Slack and Google Slides.
Meanwhile, how was the observing session over the weekend? I couldn't hook up, bad network. I was in a remote zone.
Oh, no worries. Yeah, no worries. It went pretty well. The camera seems to work pretty nice. You have to take a lot shorter exposures. So I'm waiting for the stuff to all get processed so that I can start stacking and kind of seeing what we got. But trust me, you guys will see as soon as we have something back. I'll be posting it in the Slack channel. But otherwise, we went through, outside of a little scary thing at the end where Itzamna said the dome didn't close, and the telescope was not homed, but apparently it was. So I'm glad you said something, Katya, but that scared the crap out of me in the morning.
Yeah, no, you're good. I was using it once, or I was with RAS and we forgot to close it. And so I saw the message pop up and I was like, wait, because I've gotten that message before that the dome could not be closed, and it scared me the first time I got it.
Yeah, and then when that morning, I went right to Slack and I just did squeeze just in case, and it returned the confirmation in half a second. So
yeah, I'm sure it was good.
And you did squeeze, so
yeah.
that
yeah. But yeah, we've all had our experience now leaving the dome open on accident.
I think it did close. So
yeah. Did the telescope home as well?
it was homed when I checked. So usually if the telescope is left open and the automatic slit goes on, then it closes the slit, but it doesn't home. So you'll see that the hour angle is not 90 degrees, but when I checked, it was 90 degrees. So
okay,
should be fine.
All right, I'm just going to open all the
Excuse me, Amanda.
Yes.
I want to ask how your video automatically crops your and puts it on a different background.
That's just a Zoom feature.
Oh, it's like a Zoom feature?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Might be I'm not having it here, or might be I could not reach it due to a lack of some knowledge about it.
Katya, do you remember with the Google Classroom, is the contact glass a student under that?
Is the what under student? What? I didn't understand your question.
I'm trying to think about what the student view versus a teacher view looks like in there. But no, this will work. Okay, so I've got Google Classroom, Drive folder, speed prospects. Okay. So when it comes to the most basic tools that we need everybody to be familiar with and understand, the most important being Slack. So Slack is where kind of all of our updates go. I'm more than happy to continue posting reminders and other kind of like urgent or important things in WhatsApp, because I know WhatsApp is more accessible when it comes to notifying everybody quickly. So using WhatsApp as kind of like a quick reminder to everybody is good, but long term, whether it's through a browser on your computer, even if you can only check it once a day, that's fine. But most of the important information will go into Slack because we can just kind of curate it nicely, keep all the history of all of our messages in there. And it's just something we've integrated fairly consistently. So when it comes to Slack, the only channel that you really need to worry about is the All Sky Survey channel. That's basically our entire team's meeting channel. So here you can type messages. If you want to notify everybody, you simply type you type @ and you hit channel, and this will make sure that it notifies every single person and does like a push notification. Most of the time, you don't need to worry about that. You can just type your message, whatever it needs. You can usually just type your message, whatever it needs to be. And so I don't know. Feels weird. So yeah, so just type in your message, put whatever you need to in there. If you want to reach somebody specifically, you can reach Amanda or myself just by doing the @ and then our name. That makes sure that we see it and so that we can respond to it. So if it's a specific question for one of us, just use the @ symbol and then one of our names. And otherwise, if you need to look for things that were in here a while ago, you can go up to the search and you can look for certain messages, files, or look through different channels, like the All Sky Survey channel. You can find different people. Anything you need to look for, the search bar is really helpful. One of the useful thing is sometimes we pin important topics or important messages. So if there's something that we're just always going to be using, something that we're going to refer back to a lot, if you go up to the top and you hit the pin, this will bring up all of the messages that we've pinned so far. So like one of the ones was one of the very first mosaicing tasks or not tasks, but like the mosaicing Python notebook that we did with the Veil Nebula. I put that into a zip file and it's all right here. So you can always just go back in and re-download it if you lose it or anything like that. Amanda has like the link to the Jupyter tutorial that we've gone over in the pinned messages, the PDFs from the different, like the LSST survey strategy paper, the Sky survey paper. Basically, anytime there's like something important that we want to keep kind of posted in there. Speaking of which, I think this one I'm going to pin as well. That's where you can go to check what's been pinned, and that way you don't have to scroll up through all of the messages, because at the end of the day, we also want this to be used as just a way for like, oh, hey, I saw something cool that might relate to the project, or hey, I saw something cool. Is this something we could relate to the project? It can be for casual conversation. And one of the other things that you can do is when somebody posts, so say I want to respond to Katya, you can just type a response and it'll go underneath her comment. The other way you can do it, if you don't want to just, if you think it's going to be a longer conversation, but you want other people to be able to see it, you can go over here to reply in thread. And that allows you to just reply strictly to her comment. And that way it doesn't keep adding more messages to the bottom, pushing everything up. And then you can just kind of start a private conversation on the side. And there's things you can do, like sometimes when we post things, we find it, at least I personally find it helpful if you guys add reactions. So you don't have to go crazy with picking, different emojis. You can always just do like a thumbs up. I like using the telescope. I don't know. I just think it's fun. So just kind of replying to messages just to acknowledge that you've seen them is really useful to me. Just because I like to know that the message I sent out was viewed by people. So if you see a message in the All Sky channel and Slack that you see that is probably important, just let me know you saw it by reacting to it. That way we just kind of are able to track, you know, who's checking Slack, who's making sure they saw the things. If somebody hasn't replied or said something in a while, we know who to reach out to, that type of thing. Are there any specific questions? Oh, actually, one last thing. The All Sky survey also has really important links in the what's called the topic. So you can see at the top of the channel, there's the channel name. You can star it so it always appears at the top of Slack on the left-hand side. That's what I did personally because if I found it really useful, just to keep the channels that I use most often just pinned over here to the top. And then down below that is what's called the channel topic. And in here, I have the link to the meeting notes, which are also in the SEO folder we'll look at in a second, and also my Zoom link. So this is the link that you guys use every time you jump onto Zoom. So if you lose track of my Zoom link, you can go in here and use it. You can also just take the number and join that way. And then the password is right here if you need that as well. When you are done, if you go into here to copy and paste anything out of here, just hit cancel when you're done. Otherwise, it will repost the topic here. So that happens quite a bit. It's just one of those things that it's fine if it does. It just, you don't have to. Okay. And if you want to check, you know, who's in All Sky survey channel. So if you know somebody wasn't added to this channel, you can invite them here by hitting add people. So if like we made sure somebody was on Slack, but we forgot to add them to specific to this channel, you guys can also fix that by just adding people. Are there any Slack specific questions? Okay, if not, I'm gonna go talk a little bit about some of the Google tools that Nameka mentioned that we're gonna be using a lot of. So one of the things that we've been using is a Google Drive folder. So if you're not familiar with Google Drive, it's basically just an online space to store documents, important presentations, PDFs, kind of like Microsoft Word documents, but Google has their own suite of things. So it's Google Docs, Google Slides, and Google Sheets. So it's basically Word, what's the Microsoft? PowerPoint, and then Excel. So it's the Google versions of those. So one of the things that we always want to be checking, we have the C's meeting notes. And so as you can see, they've been updated. So today's meeting is in here. I will try to be consistent about adding the link to the meeting recording to each one of these dates. Sometimes I get it in Slack and I forget to actually add it in here. So if you guys notice that, feel free to fix it for me or just kind of poke me again and say, hey, Adam, please update the meeting notes. That's perfectly fine. I just sometimes need that little reminder. So this is a Google Sheet. It's almost identical to Microsoft Word, except that we can edit in real time. So I can see where Alex is in the sheet, or in the document right now. And so if I suggest a change or add text, she can see that live. So it's a really good way for us to collaborate and write together. And because it's all stored online, everybody has the same version at all times. And so as you can see, we have the meeting recording here. So at the top is usually where the meeting recording will be posted. If it's not in here, it will be in Slack. And if you have trouble finding it at any point, just message me. There's obviously, I have no problem just messaging me saying, hey, could you put the meeting recording in the meeting notes? So go ahead.
Do everybody have this, like, do I have this in my Google Drive, like this same one you have here?
Yes, you should. If you do not, we can fix that right now. So this Google Drive folder here is actually available for everybody to go and find. So anybody that has the link, yeah, so anybody that can that is signed in with Google can actually access this. So let me copy this and post this in the Slack. Is it going to let me add more? It won't. Okay. All right, so that's the folder, and I'm going to post that, and this one I'm also going to pin, so you can always go back and find that. So this is where you can go. You can go here and then access everything that you see in here, which will be a couple of important things. So I might make a couple more subfolders and clean this up a little bit soon, because it's kind of messy at the moment. The important ones are the GLASS All Sky Survey meeting slides and the SEAS meeting notes. What's down at the bottom? Camera, so Stellarium knowledge, syllabus for All Sky. Oh yeah, so one of the other important things is the syllabus. So always good to just kind of refresh your mind, refresh yourself with something that we made back in June and July. We put together this list of all of kind of the bigger aspects of the project. We put some timelines in. Of course, the camera breaking kind of derailed a bit of our timeline back when we were putting this together. But there's still a lot of good information about kind of the background of the project in here. And all of this is stuff that you guys should be able to access. And if you can't, please let me know so we can fix it. I know one issue we had, I'll talk about in a second, that we might be able to resolve if anybody here had problems, but otherwise everything in here should be accessible. And since all of this is basically just almost identical to Google, to Microsoft Word, it should be pretty straightforward on how to use this, add to it. Things you can do are like adding comments. So you can do insert, comment, and then you just hit comment, and then usually it'll give notifications to kind of like the authors of the document. So if you just have comments or ideas on different things. So this was something I was going through, making kind of a how to use Stellarium how-to checklist. So if you want to go through that just to, see how well you know Stellarium and know that you have all the aspects of that down. Also Telescopius is another observing tool that we'll use. But those are things that during observing nights we can go over again while doing observing. So the SEO observing notes are also here. That probably hasn't been updated in a while, but we'll get back to keeping good notes because as we learned in the meeting on Thursday, it's going to be really important. So this will definitely get more use as soon as we start our regular observations again. But otherwise, as long as you have the meeting notes and the meeting slides down here, you should be good to go. So the meeting slides. So the whole point of these is simply to, okay. So that was kind of an example of Edward and I want to say it was Raphael, or I think it was actually everybody kind of put theirs in. But so we had our meeting back on June 4th and we just kind of put the agenda of what we were going to talk about in there. But when it comes to kind of the next, oops, wrong button. So you can just hit new and you create an entirely blank one. So for the meeting, so this will be kind of more ahead of time for like next week's meeting. So the 19th should be the next time we meet. So we'll want to discuss kind of presentation takeaways. And then also or I don't know, I hate using the same word again, but discuss kind of survey goals. Or I'm just going to do. I don't know why this is difficult at the moment. So underneath this slide, you go up to the top, you just hit the plus, it'll add a new slide underneath whatever one you had selected. So this is the meeting slide for the April 19th. So you just add your title, your name, and just create a bulleted list, which is just similar to like PowerPoint. You just kind of have to go through the menu to figure out where all of the different little things are. So if I created a numbered list, take away 1, take away 2, and I misspelled both times. So that's essentially all you have to do. And you can write as long or short as you want. You can add pictures in here really easily by just doing insert image, and then you can upload from the computer. So yeah, so you can just add an image of Lake Geneva. However you want to do those slides is fine. But you just, once again, go up to the meeting for whatever meeting you're putting your slides in to discuss for. You just hit the plus and then create your slide. And it doesn't have to be fancy. Honestly, just text like this is more than okay. You can make it as fancy or as plain as you'd like, but we're not going to be picky. It's more as just a way to keep track of everything that we're discussing and have a prepared list so everybody knows what the meeting's going to be before we even have the meeting. Just so we'll have our agenda and our goals for each meeting in here. Are there any questions relating to Google Slides, whether it's how to find this, any specific questions on tools inside of it?
So we can actually find this also, like if we go to our Google Slide. Am I correct?
To find this, you might have to go through the drive, and then, so I would recommend if you open your Gmail and you go here, go straight to the drive. And what I would recommend doing is if you are, once you get to the SEO folder, which you can access through that link that I shared with everybody, if you go up here, you can hit add shortcut to drive. And that way, every time you open your drive under folders, you'll see one just like this. And when you open that and double click it, it'll take you right to this folder.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem. Any other questions when it comes to the slides or Google Drive? All right, if you guys think of any questions, Slack is a great place to put them. You can also just send them in WhatsApp. However you want to ask the question is fine. And the last thing I want to mention again, just because it's something that we want to get into the swing of using, one of our interns last year put together this incredible collection of materials for us to use when it comes to kind of learning the basics of operating a telescope and kind of like amateur astronomy or the introduction to astronomy. So there's different things, like if you've not filled out the SEAS technology form. So one of the things like Nameka asked about were like Google Forms. So here you just simply put in all of your answers just like you would online with something. And once you hit submit, that's it. And then since I don't check it that often, once you submit a form like this, if you just let me know so I can go and check all of the results. But there are different things. So if you don't have Slack installed or you're not familiar with it, there's an entire presentation about how to install, or entire video about how to install Slack onto your computer. And also, yeah, it says, if you do not get an invitation, please contact me. So either way.
How do we get to create Google form, like our own question? Maybe you want to create a question for someone.
Oh, that's easy. All you have to do is go in here and you hit new and Google Forms. And then you can do blank form or from a template. And, oh wait, I don't want to do it in there. So here, and then you can just do from a template or from a regular form. So like exit ticket. And then you just click in here and you can change the questions to whatever you want to be. Then you can change the different types of answers. Yeah, there are a lot of great examples online, and some really great like how-to articles that can help you with all of the little things with Google Forms. But yeah, so if you go through Google Classroom, this is another one where you have to be invited to it. I believe everybody on this call should have access and be invited because everyone's been involved for a little while now. So if you've not been able to access this or kind of peruse it and look through different things, let me know and we can fix that. But there are some really cool things like variable star classification, looking at light curves, all of this really useful information that's just great kind of groundwork. Yeah. There are a couple other things. Let me see. So one of the other slides that was created for this that you can find through Google Classroom is kind of the introductory slides with who everybody is. So as you can see, we've had a couple people go in here and fill this out for us, but not everybody. So if you can get through Google Classroom, or if you want me to just send you the link to this presentation, either way, we want everyone to kind of put a little bit about themselves in here. This was also a useful way that we can track kind of people's different interests. So if you want to know what other people are interested in, what they're up to, you can go in here and learn about other people in the project as well. I'm actually just going to drop this into the comments. Go into the chat, I mean. Oh, Ulrich asked a question. Sorry about that. Yes, so Slack on the phone versus on a PC are going to be fairly different. There's going to be only subtle changes like where certain menus are. Overall, it should function almost exactly the same. I know some people have mentioned issues with Slack on the phone, on your phone. It's definitely easier, I would say, on a desktop, but it should work just as fine on your phone. And if it doesn't, then you kind of just have to stick with it. I like using the Chrome. I just like opening it in my browser personally, but you can also download it as an app where it'll look very, very similar. And the nice thing about the app is that on the left-hand side, you can actually switch between workspaces easily. So this is the Stonehenge Observatory workspace where we control the telescope with its Omna. And so you can see some of the images that we took this weekend. There's a good one. There's a good one. So this is one of the galaxies in the Leo triplet that we imaged on Saturday night. Where's one of the one that has like 2 galaxies in it? Nope. There we go. So you can see here are 2 of the 3 in the Leo triplet. And so these are some of the images that I'll be getting back sometime this week and combining to get a better image. So the app is nice on your computer because you can switch between workspaces easily, and it functions and looks very, very similar to the browser. Okay, and I put that document in there. Okay, cool. Any other questions about some of like the basic tools that we need to use? All right. Then while anyone is on their computer, oh good, people are already in here. If you want to just put your name in for now, that's fine. And then you can come back to it. But before, at some point in this week, just make sure you've made your slide with your name on it. You don't have to put in your takeaways right away. You can just leave it empty like mine is and fill it in once you've had a chance to rewatch the videos and kind of put in some of your major takeaways.
Okay, so when is the next meeting?
Monday, the 19th. Do I have that correct? Yes, it'll be the 19th. Okay. Yeah, so that's most of like the basic tools for just participating in kind of the discussion. Once we get into survey planning, there's a whole different suite of tools, and some of them we'll be learning together, so it won't be a big deal. And one other thing, while the next meeting is next Monday, we're also open and we'll be on Zoom and available to talk this Thursday as well, like during our old meeting time. So if you still have that time free at 5 p.m. on Thursday and you want to jump on and talk about something, we'll still be available for any type of hack session. And I'll post that in Slack and put that in WhatsApp as well. But otherwise, I think that's about it. We're coming up to the end of the time. So unless you guys have any other last questions, just make sure you watch the presentations and come ready next week to discuss our survey and our scientific goals.
So are we to review the two presentations or just one at a time?
Both. If you already have your takeaways and you remember both presentations well, you can just write up your takeaways. I know some people had either technology issues or weren't able to attend them, so they're going to have to go actually watch the videos. But both videos will be linked in Slack, or already linked in Slack, so you should be able to kind of, if you need to refresh yourself on either presentation. Okay, also Alex, thank you for the incredible meeting notes.
No worries, my pleasure. I hope they're helpful. Let me know if there's anything that I should change about them or like do differently.
No, when I was showing the meeting notes, I was kind of like partially reading them and they look awesome. So thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, I'm gonna stop the recording. But